Here's a pair of brand new Bazooka Tubbies, and that's what we're going to be using on the Mastercraft project. We've got a total of 8 speakers we're going to be running on the tower. Okay, here's our unopened tubby. We're just going to pull it out of the box, and from there we're going to actually take it apart. So I'll show you the list of tools that we need just to take it apart. Okay, here's the tools that we're going to be using to do this project. Just a standard soldering iron, some solder, which make sure it's a special type of electronic solder. Don't use the pipe stuff. We've also got a Phillips screwdriver for disassembly. We've got 2 different types of pliers, just small ones you need, a pair of side cutters, glue sticks, and a glue gun. Just standard stuff you can buy at your local hardware store, Walmart, whatever. Okay, I've taken apart the tubby. Got the 4 screws, removed them from here, 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 and here. So now the next thing you got to do is you got to remove the speaker, unseat it, and as you see, there'll be some wiring that has to be removed. Here's my workstation. What we're going to do first is prepare the speaker. So we're going to have to take it apart. As you see, there's screws all the way around holding the grill on. So we got to remove the grill because we're going to run the wiring and everything inside the grill. So if you see here, we're going to have to remove some of this hot glue from these 2 spots, and we're going to have to separate it out. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to use a pair of pliers, just pop off the hot glue, and then I'm going to disassemble the speaker, just remove the screws, and I'll show you. Okay, here we are at my workstation. I've unscrewed these screws, so I got to remove them, and then what we'll do is we'll separate the grill from the speaker. Okay, and then see, it's separated, and then there's going to be held by that wire right there. So I'll show you the next scene. I'm going to flip it around, and we'll be able to. Okay, here's my speaker, and I've got the grill. It's still hooked on by here. We're going to leave it hooked on the whole time. So we're just going to have to work around that. We could remove the solder connections, but I'd prefer not to. Okay, what we're going to require for this project, going to have some LEDs, a resistor, and some wire to wire this up. The reason is the resistor is we got to be able to put 12 volts from the boat to this, and the resistor will limit the voltage to the LED because the LED is only 2.5 volts. So we want to be able to hook up 12 volts to this and make it happen. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to trim all the LEDs. We're going to use 4 per speaker, and we're going to trim the resistors, the excess lead off them, so when we solder it together there's not too much overhang. Okay, here's all my pre-cut stuff. It's faster if you do this per speaker and you actually do everything, pre-cut your wires, pre-cut your LEDs, so you can just solder away and build it. So I've got 4 pre-cut red wires, approximately 1.5 feet long, and I've got my 4 pre-cut LEDs. I left the legs about 1/2 inch and about 1/2 inch on either side of the resistors. Okay, the trick to soldering this so you don't get burnt is use a pair of pliers, and you hold the LED and you hold the resistor connection together, and then you can just solder. So here's how you do a quick solder. What you do is you take your soldering iron and your solder, you touch the LED and the resistor lead first, get a little solder on it, and then you're done. And then what you want to do too is just smooth the solder out a little bit so there's not too much solder, so it's a nice connection. And there you go, complete. Okay, now I've got all my 4 LEDs soldered and my resistors and my leads. Got to test it out. So I hooked it up to a 12-volt battery just to verify that the LEDs work, all of them. So that way when you assemble it, it works. Here I'm all prepped up now. I've soldered on my resistors to my LEDs. One important fact is that you got to solder the resistor to the positive leg of the LED. The LED positive side is the long leg, and also if you look closely at the filament, you won't be able to see, I don't think, but there's one that is smaller. So if your legs are the same size, you have to solder it to the side with the small filament. Okay, here's the upside down part of the grill. So the trick to this is we're going to take our LED right here and we're going to hot glue it right in here. And that's going to help us with to give us our glow. So we're going to put one in each corner. We're going to put an LED here. We're going to put one here, facing that way, and we're going to put another one right there. Okay, and I'll show you that fully assembled in 1 minute. Here we go, we got the LEDs installed. So if you look closely, right here is 1, 2 is over here, 3 and 4. We've ran the wires down here and we've used hot glue to attach them. That's pre-notched on each of the areas here where we run our wires through. And this is the part where the factory wire for the tweeter is going. We just glued on top of that and then down. So just to show you, and now what we're going to do is we're going to run all the wire in here all the way around and then join it together, and I'll show you the connection we're going to do. So each one of those. There's the overview of everything. Okay, now we've routed all the wires, and if you take a look, we've actually hot glued in different spots, because the worst thing is you don't want to rattle when this is done. When the speakers are running and there's maybe a little bit of bass, you could get a rattle. So that's all been run all to one area, which is over on this side. And what we'll do is I'll show you the connection point and how we run it from there next. Okay, now the next step is terminating the wires. The reason we used red and black is to make it easy. Black is negative, red's positive. Twist them all together. I'm going to solder the connections, tuck them in, and then hot glue the wires into place so they don't move. Okay, the connections are now soldered up. So what we're going to do is we're going to tuck it all in, okay, into place, and then I'm going to hot glue it. Okay, now we're fully assembled. Now we just have to screw in the screws we took out just to hold the grill to the speaker. I've moved all the wires around and I've pulled them through the hole along with the tweeter, and this one's all complete now. All we do is have to screw it together and then test it. Okay, this is our finished product of how to take a Bazooka Tubbie and put some glowing lights on it. Here's our finished product here. We're going to hook up the 12 volts to the speaker to show the LEDs. This is our finished product before it's inserted in the housing. I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's dark. Pretty cool surround.